Hello, star seeds. I am going to get into a little reading for you this morning. Um, let's see. I'm kind of feeling pulling into an oracle deck. I love my oracle decks, and I don't read from them on this channel very often, but I want to start reading from them more. Usually, I like to use them in conjunction with a normal deck. So that might be a way that you might want to use an oracle deck. They're beautiful. So an oracle deck is similar to a tarot deck, except that it doesn't use the same exact archetypes as tarot decks. All tarot decks have the same, it's like a deck of cards, like this kind of deck. Tarot decks are made up of 4 suits, and they have all the same cards per suit. And then there are the major arcana cards, which are the ones like the Tower and the Empress and the Magician and Justice. And those are the other cards that are always standard in a tarot deck. And actually tarot decks are based on these regular types of cards, if you didn't know that. So I have these here because I can actually read with them, and maybe we will someday. It's not quite as interesting to watch because there's not cool art on the cards, but you can read with a regular deck of cards if you want to. Especially if you have 2 decks of cards that are different colors, because then you can make some major arcana and some the minor arcana. And just while I'm talking about it, so the suit of cups corresponds to the hearts, and the swords corresponds to spades. Pentacles corresponds to clubs, and wands corresponds to diamonds. So there you go. If you ever have a little deck of cards at the hospital or something. I was in the hospital like last year, and I was so bored, and I found a deck of cards, and so I was reading from a regular deck of cards as I was sitting there. And eventually I kind of got bored with that too, but it's sort of a fun party trick if you are a reader. And I didn't know that for a long time, that regular cards are similarly designed. So let's see. Okay, this is Through the Eyes of the Soul. This deck is could not be more beautiful. This artist, I mean, she is like a genius. Her name is Cheryl Yambrock Rose, and she channels all of her art, but it's just the most gorgeous. Like the eyes on her, like see the back of this. The back is just so pretty. That blue color, that's not my light. That's how the card actually looks. It's gorgeous. And she does several different decks, and I have to have all of them as she produces them, because I am that obsessed with her art. I'm not sure what medium she uses. Okay, so let's pull a card. This one was popping out for me. We've got Explore Other Realms. So you might be in a very psychic kind of state right now. I've talked a little bit about the Schumann resonance energy has been just crazy lately. It's been really popping off. I don't really say that, but that's what it's been doing. And a realm is like a dimension. So when we talk about the 3rd dimension, we talk about the earth realm, the 3D realm. So everything which means everything that we can perceive in the 3rd dimension. So this is saying explore other realms. He's talking to his spirit guides that are birds. Birds are always symbols of spirit, and they're different birds, which mean different ones. But birds are always a sign of messages from on high. And see, he is exploring his shadow. He has this apple here. The branch of the apple tree. Apples are representative of consciousness. And so he is letting his bird leaders teach him and guide him. And see, he's on a boat. So he is, it looks like he might be navigating with those birds, or, and possibly, like, I wonder if even, this is a big branch, but this bird might have brought him this apple tree to let him know that there was land coming, sort of like in the flood story in the Judeo-Christian biblical version, where the dove brings an olive branch to signify that there was land that was clearing up. So that might be sort of what we're seeing here. And this would be somebody who's come back from exploring the depths of their shadow. And truly our shadow and our higher states of consciousness are other realms. That's what that means. So this could also be, you might notice that there's a masculine looking person on this card. And so this could be your energy. It doesn't have to mean that you are identify as a masculine for this to be you, but I'm seeing that this is like the divine masculine energy. And that makes a lot of sense because we have been really digging up the divine masculines and trying to pull them into our higher realm where we are. And none of us can really stay there and hang out there until we're both there. But right now the divine feminine is pulling the divine masculine up through realms, and in vibration the divine feminine is raising the vibration of the masculine, and vice versa, but because they work together. But the divine masculine represents the part of our realm that was sacrificed thousands of years ago and has been sacrificed over and over again in order for us to progress. So we kind of threw away the protector role of the masculine, and we've instilled values of competition and all this stuff that's very individualistic in our cultures. And that is us moving away from the traditional role of the divine masculine. And divine masculine is not just a word for masculine. It's not just a word for a man. It's this certain pure polarity, pure energy that hear a lawnmower. It's this pure energy of the masculine, and once you're completely in alignment, you will either polarize into the masculine or the feminine. And this does not mean that you will then be a really girly girl or really straight, really straight, really cisgender. No, I'm trying to work, Papa. I'm trying to work, Papa. That is Mr. Osiris, and he is our divine masculine around here, as his name might suggest. So yeah, these energies are not synonymous with gender, and they are definitely not synonymous with sex, with your sexual organs and the phenotype of your body. But I'm seeing that this divine masculine is representing the divine masculine collective here. And so within you, there is a part of you that is coming out of the shadows, that is navigating and finding a way to get to land. You're joining with spirit. You're starting to learn how to connect. The masculine is able to navigate using the 3D realm. That's the masculine's deal. They're able to navigate life using solely the 3D realm. And what happens is that the feminine is the part of you that's totally interconnected with spirit and with your intuition. And so the feminine is actually the guide of the masculine, and the masculine protects the feminine as they move forward. So like I said, this is not about sex and gender. I'm a person who has always really tried to stay on top of trying to understand what does and does not feel good for people, to, terms and pronouns and things like that. So this has been a little tough for me personally to realize that the way that the spiritual community and the physics, it's really physics. We're talking about poles. So we could be talking about north or south, but it's way more useful to talk about masculine and feminine, because you can actually relate to these concepts. And everyone has a very unique swirl of these energies that come together to form you. And this isn't stereotypical stuff about masculine and feminine. This is just the two parts of us that will need to come into harmony. They don't need to equal out, but they come into harmony with each other, depending on our own energetic signature. So everybody has a different energetic signature. So your balance is going to look way different than somebody else. Like you might identify as a cisgender male and also identify as a divine feminine. There's not limits to how this works. It's very fluid, and it doesn't, and yeah, okay. So that's my blurb about those energies. I feel like I want to say that usually when I start mentioning the energies, but then I end up repeating myself a lot. But I just really am sensitive to making people feel excluded, making people feel marginalized. I do not want to do that, especially with this, like what I feel to be very spiritual, holy kind of work. And we don't need to be so off-putting to everybody. We need to try and find common ground language. So here, let's see. Okay, we've got sacred journey and pilgrimage. Okay, so we said he looks like he's traveling and coming back. So she's been on a pilgrimage, or she's going on a pilgrimage. Maybe this could mean that he's about to start out on a pilgrimage, start out on a journey. And here we have, this is where's my book? I think, let me just make sure let me not tell you the wrong thing, because I want to tell you this is Mary Magdalene. Oh, it's Sarah. Okay, this is Sarah. This is Jesus and Mary Magdalene's daughter. And in this picture, it says she's in Avalon, which is, so after Jesus was crucified, and I've never been a Judeo-Christian person, but all of the spiritual backgrounds are stories that can help us to understand how these energies work in our world. And they've been, a lot of them has been really mutated and mutilated and turned into these weapons, these spiritual perspectives that have turned into religions and these strict sets of rules and standards. So after Jesus was crucified, this is the stuff that got taken out of the scriptures. These Gnostic texts did not make it in, but Jesus had a wife, and she was Mary Magdalene. And there is a commonly held, really terrible misconception that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, and this is just not true. She was a high priestess, tantra goddess, basically. I mean, and tantra is a way of connecting with spirit through the union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So to do this, you connect deeply with the earth, you meditate with the earth, you meditate with animals, you engage in holy, you only engage in divine sex that is related to a divine union and operating in a vibration of pure love. So Sarah is actually the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, who was born before the crucifixion. And after the crucifixion, Mary Magdalene and Sarah and Joseph, somebody named Joseph of Arimathea, who I'm pretty sure is also Jesus, they all go from Jerusalem, or go from the Holy Land, and take a boat with no oars and no sails, and they land in France. And that's where there are all these spiritual backgrounds that, or spiritual traditions that are based around France that have to do with the cult of Mary Magdalene, quote unquote. And her burial is in the south of France, her tomb, what's believed to be her tomb. And she was, so Jesus thought of Mary Magdalene, she was his greatest teacher. That's what he believed about her. And he had this pack of dudes following him around, and, all the governments and all the bigger institutions were also all packs of dudes, and they just did not like that this was, that this is the direction that Christ took it. They didn't like that. They wanted the type of spiritual perspective that would mean, manly man, independence, nobody, I don't rely on anybody, especially a woman. But what the Christ consciousness. So Mary Magdalene was a Christed figure as well. So we think of Jesus as being the only Messiah, this Christed figure, and he might have been born in this Christ consciousness. But Mary Magdalene was sent to school into mystery school to learn spirituality and Tantra and learn the wisdom of the divine feminine when she was very, very small. And she stayed in these schools until she was older, and she was extremely connected and with God. She was very, very powerful. And when Jesus met her, they had this convergence of, they were twin flames. They were the complete equal and opposite energy to each other, and they immediately came into union. There's the misconception that she's a prostitute because she was a high priestess, and that was sometimes misconstrued as somebody who was working as a sex worker, which is just people trying to keep people away from the most powerful types of spirituality. She was not remotely a sex worker. That's not what Tantra is, but that was a really easy way for society and for these masculine institutions to dismiss everything that she was teaching. Jesus, when he was in his 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, and which were, or 40 years, 40 days, he actually, this is when he was doing his own study. He had a dark night of the soul, and there are some believe that he even, and I believe this, that he traveled as far as India and learned from the spiritual people there from their ancient tradition, the Vedic knowledge and things like that. So he learned how to do Tantra as well. And Tantra is just a way to connect with God internally. You directly connect with God instead of having to use a priest, instead of having to, wait until you die. There's not a blind faith because you really, really feel it. Like there's no other choice but faith when you can really connect in with spirit in this tantric way. So this might be, this could be, I think this is a message that maybe you should be looking into Tantra. It's a really incredible perspective, and there is a lot of, you incorporate sexuality, but only insofar as it is one of all the many natural ways for your body to connect deeply with the earth and to connect deeply with other people and humanity, and to express love, to quote unquote make love. Like you literally generate more energy that is at a loving vibration when you engage in holy, sacred sexuality. And this does not mean really boring sex, by the way. That's not what that means. And it also doesn't mean like, I almost said like really trashy sex. I don't know. I mean, sometimes really trashy sex can be really holy too. So, but yeah, you might want to look into Tantra. It's a way of channeling your energy, channeling that sexual energy, which your sexual energy is just your creativity. So anything that you do in life that feels remotely creative, that is coming from the same drive that gives you your sex drive. And so in Tantra, you harness and learn to weave this energy throughout all of your life and be able to, and you circulate the energy instead of letting it flow out of you. And as you circulate it gradually over time, you become extremely powerful spiritually. And so sometimes this means that people refrain from sex, but it doesn't have to be like, if you have a partner who you really love, this would be a really, really wonderful way to connect with them. There are a lot of different books on Tantra. I had a teacher who wrote a really good book for beginners. If you have a partner and you want to start learning about Tantra, it's called Tantric Intimacy, and it's by somebody named Katrina Boss, B-O-S. And that would be a good one if you just want a really warm, personal introduction to what Tantra is and how it can help you in your life. So we've got Sarah and Avalon here. There's also, I said Mary Magdalene and Sarah and Joseph Arimathea came to France, and then some say, the legends say that they traveled up into England to Avalon, and that's where in the stories of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table weave into these stories of Jesus and Joseph of Arimathea, who carried the spirit of Jesus. Once you get to this high level of Tantra, this high level of integration, you can actually move your spirit choose to move your spirit from your body and literally live forever. Or Jesus could have stayed in his body and lived forever too, but he had this whole prophecy thing that he needed to manifest, which is a different story, because he did manifest that and he didn't. That's like the fall of the divine masculine. So Sarah, this says, detach from all that is familiar, be open to transformation. On pilgrimage, you live outside time. Moving through space, you shake off old bonds and a sense of freedom takes their place. You travel through the landscape knowing that you will be forever changed by the journey. Such a place is the Isle of Avalon, where this painting is set. In it, Mary Magdalene's daughter Sarah stands on top of Weary Hill with Glastonbury Tor in the background. Joseph of Arimathea had landed there with his companions around 63 CE, weary all. A staff planted in the ground grew into the holy thorn tree. Sarah is holding a blooming branch of the North African species. A Phoenician boat sits in the marshland, and the Tor is still a natural temple without a tower on top of it. Natural temple. The labyrinth-carved track leading to the summit is a path of initiation. Under the Tor is the entrance to Anwen. And I wouldn't get better at pronouncing Celtic and Welsh. In Celtic mysticism, this is the home of Gwyn ap Nudd and the fairy realm. So detach from all that's familiar, be open to transformation, look at Tantra, dive into something new, find a different spiritual perspective that you haven't really taken in before. Let's just get one more card here on this. I'm not doing reverses with oracle cards. Find the middle ground, compromise. Yeah, okay. So if you are in a relationship with the divine masculine, this could be about meeting in the middle and the two of you engaging in this path together, surmounting this monumental union together. Find the middle ground coming together. It's like we talk about in twin flames, their energy, when it flows between them, it makes it flows in a pattern of infinity. And so the middle ground there is the spot of the sacred union, is where the light body, that little middle intersection of the Taurus field, that's what it's called, is right where the strongest magnetism is in the middle. So you are really seeking to unify your divine masculine and your divine feminine. I'll look up. Yeah, let's look up 47, just. Learn about the opposition, cooperative interaction, and the use of synergy will produce a more powerful creation or relationship. Yeah, synergy will create a more powerful relationship. This can also be within yourself, just balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine within yourself. That is, anytime you're actually trying to balance it with another person, what you really need to do is balance it within yourself first, and then it will all naturally shake out, especially if it is your what the very, very special designation of a twin flame, if it is your twin flame, if it is your quote unquote kingdom spouse, when you come into alignment, the other person is naturally going to come into alignment as well, and vice versa. So the two of you mirror each other, and because you are completely integrally entangled with your energy already before you even ever knew each other, or your energy mirrors each other. There's this thing where in quantum physics, they figured out that that an electron can be an electron over on this side of the galaxy. If you tweak it, you will see the effect on an electron completely across the universe, which is called spooky action at a distance. And this is the same effect that you have with the divine masculine and the divine feminine. They are entangled and entrained, and they are the strongest connection that can possibly be had from each of their energies. And when they come together, the magnitude of the power of those energies coming into alignment is like a logarithmic function of what it was before. So you go from this infinite 3D energy to this infinite, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent energy that comes from the union, the power of the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming together, direct connection to God's source, and pure love in your heart and healing. Okay, so that's our message today. I hope you like this deck. Like I said, I love it, and I'll do some more readings with this because this was a good one. Ground that for you. I hope you have a good day, and I will talk to you later.